My wife has mastered the secret of making the most awesome granola using food storage items. It is so good, I eat it almost every day. Oh, hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan, and I just pulled out my famous, delicious, nutritious, wonderful granola.
And I'm Kylene, and today we are going to teach you how to make homemade granola. Now there's a few different reasons why we think it's so important. The first is it's so much less expensive than what you can buy at the store. The next is for us, like Jonathan has one kind of granola, but it's different than the one that I like. And we can customize our granola to meet our unique preferences.
Absolutely. And the thing I really love about this is that it's healthy. This is super healthy. It doesn't have a long list of chemicals and all kinds of preservatives and names that I can't even pronounce. It's super, super healthy.
It's clean, right? And the other thing is that it really helps us to keep our long-term food storage rotated, because oats have a fantastic shelf life, 30 years, right? If they're stored correctly, but we don't want to push that. We want to make sure that we're always rotating through our food storage. And by making granola from scratch, then we keep it rotated.
That's just the thing you ought to do.
Today, we are going to make John's
Oatsolutely Nutty granola. You want some of this. I can see it in your eyes.
You do want some of this. The first thing that I'm going to do is take 5-ish cups of oats. I'm going to put half of it in the blender. I actually have more than that. And then the chia seeds, I'm going to go ahead and put in here. John's chia seeds, he doesn't usually put in the blender, but he puts his sesame seeds in the blender. The flax seeds that I'm going to be using are already ground, but if your flax seeds weren't ground yet, I would stick them in the blender. The reason we're going to make the oat flour is because, have you noticed how sometimes it just looks like horse feed, right? But if you want the granola to have nice big clumps, you need flour, but we don't use wheat flour in it. We just grind some of the oat flour, and that gives it the really nice, what would you call that?
Texture. I love the texture.
It's an amazing texture.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna blend this real quick. You don't even need an expensive blender to do this. So all I'm gonna do is I'll dump that in here, and then I'm going to dump the oats in here. And then the one ingredient that I would not add before baking are the raisins or any type of dried fruit, because I feel like the raisins get too hard. Yeah. And so I'll add this after it's all cooked before we store it. So I'm gonna...
And that's an example of a difference. She likes the raisins in hers. I don't prefer the raisins in mine. I use other fruit, but that's the beauty of this. You customize it the way you want.
Let's get busy making some granola. So let's talk about the difference between John's and mine. So we start off with the same thing. We start off with the oats, right? But then he likes to use olive oil. I don't. I like to use the coconut oil. And then, so I've got a half a cup of coconut oil and a half a cup of honey, roughly. Everything is rough with me. And we mix this separately, because if you're trying to mix it all together with the oats, it just doesn't work well. So if I put it in this and I just mix it all up, it will work much better. We both agree on the vanilla.
Yeah.
We both agree on a half a teaspoon of cardamom.
Yeah.
And then for cinnamon, I've got a tablespoon of cinnamon. He agrees on that.
Yeah, that works for me.
I have some nutmeg, because the flavor profile that I'm going for in mine is a little bit different. And then a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. And I'm just gonna mix this all together while John is mixing this together. Now we're not gonna put the raisins in until it's done, because if you put the raisins in before you cook it, or any dried fruit, that dried fruit's gonna turn out really hard, and I don't like that. So here, he doesn't like coconut in his, but I love unsweetened shredded coconut.
So there you go. You got it.
There I go.
It's just like Burger King. You can have it your way.
You can have it your way. And then this is flax seed. So about a quarter of a cup of flax seed.
Super, super healthy.
Then I have sunflower seeds. And John in his, we both like the chia seeds.
Yeah.
But he likes sesame seeds also in his.
Yes.
So, and then when it comes to the nuts,
I love pecans. And I really love cashews, which she doesn't care for, or it doesn't sit well with her.
And he
then
has
usually almond slivers or occasionally something else, but I don't really like walnuts.
But I love walnuts.
But she loves walnuts.
And the walnuts with the raisins, I love that flavor. So there's chopped walnuts in here and there's chopped pecans. Another thing about that is that Jonathan likes his whole. He doesn't even give it a rough chop. I would rather have it kind of just spread throughout.
Yeah, I love the texture. That's why I like crunchy peanut butter. I love the texture of it, especially the kind she makes with all kinds of other seeds and stuff. So I like all that big texture. Mama, not quite so much.
I have to doctor his peanut butter. We'll have to do a video on that sometime. Okay, but you see, I had mixed this, so we don't have to worry about like there being a little bit of salt in the wrong places. And then you're just gonna stir this up.
And honestly, the mixing is the hardest part of this. That's because you want to make sure all that, the floury stuff gets kind of connected with other stuff. You don't want it sitting in the bottom of the bowls, but even that's not too hard.
Remember, if you just want it more like horse feed, you don't have to make the oats into flour, or you don't have to add flour. But if you want it to be nice and clumpy, and even the way we stir it is a little bit different. John kind of does this thing where sometimes he's breaking up the clumps. I'm leaving those clumps in big clumps because I really like that. So perfect. It is so different than yours, but it is perfect for me. Okay, then you just spread it out on the cookie sheet. Now, most of the time, we actually make a double batch of this for John because he eats this, would you say almost every morning?
Probably almost every morning. Sometimes I like still cut oats. Sometimes I'll have something else, but you know, probably 4 or 5 days a week, I like my granola with my fruit.
And if we're making the full batch, we make this on 3 different trays. Well, the full batch, if we make the double batch.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's not as much on this, but I think I'm gonna try mine all on one. So now I have exactly what I like. We're gonna put this in the oven between 250, 270, depending on your oven. And you're just gonna stir it every 15, 20 minutes. And we do that for about 2 hours. And then we turn off the oven and we just usually let it set. And it can set overnight or a couple hours or whatever, but we let it cool in there. Now, there's another thing about John's. John likes everything almost burnt. He likes it very well done.
Not quite almost burnt, but I like things well done.
Oh, look at that. That looks almost kind of burnt to me. Yeah. So mine, I'll cook it a lot lighter. But that's one of the beauties of this, right? You can do it however you want. So stick it in the oven. Then when it comes time to store this, our double batch fills this.
Yeah, just fills that right about to the top.
And he's such a happy man when it's full.
Oh, yes.
He's like, and it gets down the bottom, he's like, honey, it's time.
I know I need to become independent. I know I need to learn to do this myself, and I will.
Well, but we always actually do it together.
We're kind of a team. We just
team.
work together on this. And
so we do it together, and that way he can kind of personalize it however he wants. And it's a little bit different every time too. But the super good thing about making your own granola is, well, health for one, right? But it really saves you a lot of money and keeps your food storage rotated. If you click the card in the corner, it'll take you to a video that we created on storing oats and all the different ways that you can store or you can use oats that are in your storage. But it has to be one of our favorite grains.
It really is. It's super healthy for us, and it's extremely nutritious. And there's so much variety. And like Mama said, we've got a whole video on this. There's so many things you can do with oats and keep yourself healthy. And now for the question of the day. What is your favorite granola recipe? Yeah, share with us. Put it in the comments. Let's see it. Bring it out. We might have to have a competition.
I'd like that. I would win. I'm certain.
Of course you would.
I'm certain I would win.
Thanks for being part of the solution.